Donald and Department of Homeland Security Secretary and puppy murderer Kristi Noem have long threatened Chicago with occupation by ICE forces and our military. Troops have been present in the city for months, but this past weekend, thanks to a major ramping up of ICE operations, Chicago has begun falling into chaos, one purposefully created by the Trump regime. Here's ABC News with more.
After a federal judge blocked the White House's attempt to send National Guard troops into Portland, the administration authorizing hundreds of Guard members from Texas be sent to Chicago to protect federal buildings and personnel. Over the weekend, federal agents deployed tear gas, shooting rubber bullets and arresting protesters. On Saturday, agents shot and injured 30-year-old Marimar Martinez after federal officials say she and another man used their cars to ram federal vehicles and block them in. DHS says Martinez was armed with a semi-automatic weapon. She was treated for her injuries and is now facing criminal charges. Trump's authorization of the Guard coming against the wishes of Governor J.B. Pritzker, the Illinois governor, calling on Texas Governor Greg Abbott to refuse to coordinate with the administration, saying we must now start calling this what it is, Trump's invasion. But Abbott defending the administration overnight, saying in a statement, you can either fully enforce protection for federal employees or get out of the way and let the Texas Guard do it. The president insists the ICE raids and National Guard deployments will continue to escalate as he believes the public is on his side.
Yes, the raids will continue to escalate as Donald becomes more and more and more desperate to change the subject away from his abject failures as a leader. Don't pay attention to the disastrous economy that is entirely his responsibility. Don't pay any attention to the fact that every single day American civil liberties are being threatened because of this fascist regime. No, let's focus on the fact that one state's National Guard is being deployed to another state to police American citizens for no reason other than Donald is desperate and wants to look like a tough guy. There were no problems in Chicago that were out of the ordinary. Any American citizen, red, blue, or otherwise, has violent crime, but there were no riots. There was no threat to the populace of Chicago. All of this has been entirely created out of whole cloth by the Trump regime. And in this instance, I could say, I think it's fair to say that this is the work of people like Stephen Miller, Tom Homan, and Kristi Noem. And Donald is just allowing it to happen because, again, it serves a purpose for him. You look at those videos, and that is Chicago because of what Governor Pritzker referred to as Donald's invasion. People are being injured. People are being shot at. There is chaos. There is tear gassing in the street. All because one man is so pathetic and weak and grasping at straws. But before we go on, we have to combat martial law. So please like and share this video. And if you believe in our mission, subscribe to our channel. ICE's incompetence and knack for destruction seems to know no limits. I should also say that ICE agents' willingness to commit crimes against the American people seems to know no bounds. The clashes between agents and protesters have been escalating, but it isn't just resistance members who are suffering the consequences of untrained immigration enforcement officers doing their worst. The Chicago Police Department is also paying a price. Take a look at this video of city officers being tear gassed.
They'll throw you in the fire! They'll throw you in the fire! Understand! They just tear gas you! They don't give a fuck about you either! Why are you protecting them?
That is one arm of law enforcement allegedly targeting another arm of law enforcement. In this case, the Chicago PD, which has the right to be policing Chicago's streets. But ICE has taken over and they don't care who gets in their way. If they're even getting in their way, I just think that this is a matter of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. It turns out that recruiting random civilians off the street to play pretend cops and empowering them to do harm to other Americans with less power is actually a terrible idea. Real police officers are getting tear gassed by their incompetent, untrained, and unhinged counterparts who have been told by the Trump regime to do their worst. And they are. They're doing their worst on the one hand because, as I mentioned, they are incompetent, untrained, and unqualified, but also because only the worst kind of person would sign up for this kind of assignment. And clearly, ICE is full of the worst kind of people, just as is the Trump regime. Apartments in Chicago's South Shore were ransacked by agents this week during a raid. Block Club Chicago reported on the treatment of Roderick Johnson, a United States citizen and retired Army veteran. Not that that matters to these people. He also worked 3 decades for the United States Postal Service. Johnson was manhandled by ICE and his belongings were torn apart. Detailing his experience, Johnson said federal agents pounded on the door of his apartment at about 2 a.m. on Tuesday. They woke him and his fellow residents up, handcuffed them with zip ties, and then led them into unmarked vans, which sounds to me kind of like kidnapping. Johnson says, quote, "They didn't tell me why I was being detained. They left people's doors open, firearms, money, whatever, right there in the open," unquote. He also said that agents stuffed him and his neighbors, including families with children, into a van for several hours until the raid was deemed concluded. This is not at all how any of this is supposed to work. What was the cause? Was there a search warrant? Were these people read their rights? Why indeed were they detained? This is information that is supposed to be made readily available to any detainee. Luckily, Chicago leaders and residents are not backing away from staring down Donald and ICE. In fact, they are not backing down from ICE's intimidation tactics. Over the weekend, as raids were carried out, citizens protested the fact that their neighbors were essentially being harassed, assaulted, and disappeared. Take a look at this clip of Chicagoans intervening as agents tried to arrest a local man.
Let him go! Let him go! Let him go! Get off him! Hey, get the fuck out of here! Let me see your fucking face, bro! Let him go! Dirty ass motherfucker!
Welcome to Donald Trump's America, everybody. Get used to it. More of the same is being threatened. Also, what fucking cowards those so-called ICE agents are. Can't show your faces? You'd think that they would be proud of the work they're doing. But no, they wear masks, so they can't be identified. All I can say is that despite the horror of what we just witnessed there, it's a very good thing that those so-called ICE agents weren't armed. And also, were they even actual sworn-in agents? They certainly didn't look like it. Governor J.B. Pritzker of Illinois, who has been one of Donald's most outspoken opponents, is fighting back, as he has been doing for months now. The state is already suing over deployment of the National Guard to Chicago. The lawsuit was filed just hours after a federal judge in Oregon temporarily blocked the Trump regime from sending National Guard troops to Portland. The lawsuit reads in part, quote, "These advances in Donald's long declared war on Chicago and Illinois are unlawful and dangerous," unquote. Indeed, unlawful and dangerous, un-American, anti-American, and unconstitutional. So I'm wondering when and if Anybody in the Republican Party who has power is going to wake up and understand just how out of control all of this is. None of this needed to happen, but it's being allowed to happen, and it is going to get so much worse. Please take a second and like and share this video. Be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.